Hey guys, welcome to my monthly astrology video. This video is for May and let's get on to it. So I've realized from my last video that I've kind of over informed with my screen and what I talk about. So I'm going to try to cut down on a lot of the information and trying to simplify it more and make it a little bit more relatable rather than packing the video with a bunch of information. So May starts out with the sun finishing its conjunction with Uranus and Taurus, right? This was kind of a big moment that we've been waiting for since the beginning of the year, while the sun was in Aquarius over here, when we were viewing this square between Saturn and Uranus more from the Aquarius perspective. So May starts out with the sun's conjunction finishing with Uranus in Taurus, right? This was a highlight moment for everybody because it was our consciousness connecting to our sense of evolution, ascension, right? Uranus is the futuristic change and sudden energy bringing about in the Taurus energy of value. So the sun coming together really heightens our awareness with this issue. This whole Taurus energy over here has been raising our values, right? We want more worth. We want more value out of ourselves, out of life. We want to raise the bar. We want to raise the standard. These are all themes that come around with this, packed Taurus energy that we're experiencing. People are growing new things, investing in new things. There's a lot of change in the foundations and the structures of our material world, and we're trying to move on to something different. And these are all the planets that's really focusing us into that direction, right? Now, the whole, you know, challenge with this year is the fact that again, we have the Saturn Uranus square that's been going on. So anything that's been in Taurus has been in a challenging position to the Aquarius energy, especially Saturn, and then also Jupiter around the end of Taurus and around end of Aquarius, right? Jupiter and Saturn since the end of last year has entered Aquarius and is really pushing for again the rebellious nature of Aquarius, the futuristic, liberated, freedom form of society, progressive form of society that this sign advocates for, right? So this whole energy of change again and society is in a challenging, difficult position to the Taurus's value. So on a personal level, a lot of the values that we're changing is also changing how we socially, mentally frame ourselves or frame the situations, the issue or society, right? But again, I was expecting more of a bang, I guess, in society, and I realized that it was more internal as I experienced it on a personal level. I think that's because Saturn's going to go retrograde in the end of this month, May 23rd, for Uranus to catch up to 13 degrees. So I think that's gonna heighten more of the Saturn Uranus square that's going on. I was expecting more of an energy, but there wasn't. So I think it needs to be tighter. When Uranus gets to 13 and Saturn retrogrades through 13, I think that's when we're gonna feel it more. So as for now, the Sun in Taurus, Venus in Taurus, Mercury in Taurus, right? We're raising our values. In each of our lives, we should be trying to find more confidence, find more productivity, find more manifestation, and finding more abundance, even if, it doesn't go with social standards, social, I don't know, obligations that you might have. I would say, go with your internal values, right? The whole point of this year, especially that I've realized as the year goes by, with with Pisces and Aries season, with all this healing that happened with our karmic self, spiritual self, and a lot of the ego parts of ourself. Now we're moving on to the new world, Aquarius. Aquarius showed us what could be, right? But it's still in the early stages. We're still just finishing the healing of some of the more core parts of ourself, and now we're just moving forward on the internal basis of things. Again, still in Taurus. We're still our own confidence, our own worth, our own value, beauty, manifestation, abundance, all those words with Taurus, richness, right? Quality, quantity, all these things we're trying to move forward with, and it might be weird is really what it's what I think Aquarius and Saturn and Jupiter is saying. You know, it might be something unexpected, but I think it's something that you have to push through during Taurus. It might feel awkward, it might feel weird, it might feel questionable, right? These are all Aquarius things. We did that, you know, during February when things were kind of cool to be weird. But now we're in the energy of feeling stable and steady, right? So a lot of the Aquarius energy feels very uncomfortable to us when we're trying to invest in things, Taurus, right? So these are some of the issues that were playing out in Taurus, especially early part of May while the sun is in Taurus. And then the other big quote unquote hit that I'm looking for is when this end of Taurus is going to start trining into Pluto and also squaring this Jupiter, right? Jupiter and Pluto. So anything that's going to start trining into Pluto is going to be a good form of destruction, good form of letting things go, good ways of positive ways of, you know, letting go of things, Taurus, and especially in a very structural, integral, materialistic, practical way, because it's Taurus and Pluto. Now during that time it's going to be squaring Jupiter, and this is going to be like almost too futuristic is what Jupiter and Aquarius in the early Jupiter in the late parts of Aquarius tells me, right? It's almost too futuristic. But again, like with the sun moving through in the mid, or you know, we're going to move forward, the sun right over here, while the sun's over here, when it's making these connections to Pluto and Jupiter, I think that's when, you know, we're going to see a lot of things kind of making more of a leap, right? Because Pluto and Jupiter, and it's very high degrees of Taurus, it's going to be very high investment, risky investment. But again, this is all based on your internal economy, right? In internal value system. And that's, it really depends on how high you want to go. Taurus is, you know, this momentous inertia energy. And so going back a little bit, right, during those times, we're going to have Mercury and Venus move into Gemini, right, while the sun is still in Taurus. So we're still going to be focusing, our consciousness is going to be still focusing on leveling up our value, our internal economy, and also our outward manifestations in abundance. But our openness, right, our pleasantry, our bounty, and Mercury, our thoughts, and our intellect, or communications, or conversations, are all going to start going on a kind of a higher buzz, right? There's going to be more information going on. I like to think of these Gemini, especially Mercury and Venus energy, right? Our eyes darting from one place to another. Interesting, stimulating, all right? All these energies coming through while we're raising vibrations and we're raising our value. So I think it's going to be pretty exciting. Again, it really depends, again, with this trine to Pluto, how much we're, you know, ready to let go and ready to, you know, destroy a lot of the old, and also how much we're willing to kind of face the futuristic possibilities that might even be improbable or impossible, right? That's why I say this is kind of a risky, but also it depends on your spiritual internal value system. Now that things move into Gemini, that's the second part of the month pretty much, right? Not exactly. All right, so before we move into Gemini with the sun, let's talk about the new moon in Taurus, because the new moon in Taurus, May 11th, happens before, obviously, the sun moves into Gemini. Now, at this point, again, it's before the Pluto-Jupiter connection, right? So we're still, I personally think this new moon is more of a inward spiritual thing going on. You know, Taurus is your desires and wants and objectivity. So it's, we're going to want things. We're going to realize like, hey, I'm worth more. I deserve all these things. I desire all these things. This is what I'm going to put in the energy and work and effort and pushing energy, right, Taurus? I personally think, again, more the energy is going to be more clear. Like our manifestation is going to be more clear by the time we start making connections early, later on in Taurus. You know, this is still more of a internal session that's going on, but we're going to be seeing it in the world more likely than not, right? I think late degree Taurus energy is very much like that owning energy. You got to own it, own your value, own your worth, own your talent, own yourself. Like that's the really epitome of Taurus, right? You know your worth, you know what you're getting, what you're doing. So that's what I feel in the end of Taurus with this new moon. Now, like I said before, we're gonna make these connections to Pluto and also to Jupiter, and as we move the sun into Gemini May 21st, we're going to start taking this hard square to Jupiter. Now, I didn't mention about Jupiter moving to Pisces just yet, right? That happens May 13th, May 14th, right? Jupiter moves into Pisces, and I think Jupiter is in Pisces until July 28th, end of July. So let me talk about that in a little bit. But the sun moving into Gemini over here is going to really heighten the energy, right? We're owning it in Taurus, and then we're going to move into Gemini where we can start making business like deals and negotiations. I mean, that's Gemini, right? Conversations. We're going to be thinking differently. We're going to talk about things that's been on our minds because of these healings that happened and this new futuristic vision that we have and this new value system that we have, right? We're going to have to make some changes, and people are going to change masks. People are going to change like their perspective on things. There are going to be new ideas. Now, this whole May situation is really crazy and exciting because of this Gemini energy in the end, because we have Mercury retrograding later in May, and also we have the full moon lunar eclipse happening in Gemini and Sagittarius. So this North Node in Gemini, we've had this throughout since last year, and this whole Gemini energy that the North Node is really pushing us to focus on with new ideas, new perspectives, new ways of thinking, all that is really going to be highlighted, right? It's going to be in front of our faces at this point. And at that same time, we're going to be making some squares to Pisces, especially Jupiter and also Neptune, right? And Jupiter in Pisces is going to be a whole nother level of energy onto the table that we haven't experienced for a while. Jupiter takes 12 years to come around. Now, this time that Jupiter is in Pisces, we're going to start out with the sun squared into Gemini with the eclipse happening in Gemini, which is why it's intense. Jupiter in Pisces, Jupiter rules Pisces. So it's actually a really positive thing that Jupiter is coming into Pisces. It's going to magnify, it's going to really highlight and bring out the Pisces nature of things, right? Which is both very extreme and both very like healing at the same time, right? On a positive note, I think there's going to be a lot of healing, a lot of spiritual wisdom and experiences, and very magical stuff coming out through the woodwork with Jupiter in Pisces. Sensitivity, intuition, psychicness, all that Pisces ghost stuff, ethereal stuff. But also Jupiter and Pisces on a negative note can be, again, like extreme addiction, right? Like alcoholism, depression, like escapism, defeatism, like all these things that's very like negative can also be very much magnified. That said, again, Jupiter is relatively positive, so it's more on a positive note, but this square to Gemini is going to bring out some of the negative sides, right? Gemini and Pisces together gets very slippery. Gemini is just too busy, and again, Pisces is too slippery when they come together. So we've experienced some of the Pisces energy again in February and in March, and we did a lot of that healing in Pisces. So personally, I believe depending on the work that you did Pisces over here, Jupiter is going to really expand it, right? Bring some fluff and air and some even gases to this energy. But again, it's going to somehow challenge the Gemini energy, our mentality. So I say, keep your head on, literally, because Gemini and Pisces together, like your head can just spin off. Now, saying all of that, I mentioned the eclipse that's happening right here, right? We have an eclipse because this full moon is really close to the North Node. That's pretty much what it is. It really heightens the lunar nodes, the lunar axes, which pulls our soul nature and such through Vedic astrology, but Western astrology uses it too. Now, in our case over here, we're going to have the full moon or the lunar eclipse in the moon in Sagittarius, which means that the south node is over here, opposite of the north node. It's really telling us that we need to embrace new ideas and really let go of old philosophy, old beliefs, old teachings, old ways of doing things, old ways of acting, old ways of expressing themselves, right? That's what Sagittarius is, the philosophy. It's the juice behind things. And that's really what we're kind of expelling. It's what's kind of holding us back. And that's kind of what Sagittarius does sometimes, because it holds back so it can shoot forward. But the direction that these nodes are facing is the north nodes in Gemini. So we're really wanting to go in different directions, not just focus on one like a Sagittarius to the target like an archer, but the Gemini is more, scattered and more spread out. And that's what the universe looks like it wants, right? And that's going to really be highlighted. We're going to have this huge momentum of believing in something and thinking in a certain way, and then this eclipse is going to really bring us kind of a blackout moment in the energy, where we're going to have to stir up our own emotions and our own energy to figure out, well, what do I truly think, and what am I really truly ready to let go and believing, right? And that's the power of the eclipse. And moving forward with the Gemini part of the month, Mercury stations retrograde May 30th, right? That's like literally the end of May. Mercury switches directions, which means that before that, Mercury's already slowing down, which means that our mental faucets are already kind of, right, slowing down. Like you're about to rewind something, about to change direction in a pendulum. It kind of slows down, stops, and then moves backwards. So that's what Mercury is doing. And so we're gonna start slowing down and rethinking, revisiting, recommunicating some of the ideas that we, I guess, harbored through the eclipse, and also some of the changes that we've started to kind of look at, open up to, started to talk about, right? And started to become a little bit more conscious and aware of. Mercury, I guess, wants to talk about it throughout June. We're going to go backwards in June, and that's a June video that we would do later. But, get ready to change ideas, even though we're going to be very solid with our values, right? And we're going to be experiencing new ideas. We're going to be changing more ideas. There's going to be more information coming in. And again, with Jupiter and Pisces, there's going to be a whole like portal opening up where you can kind of slip into different things, right? There's going to be more opportunity. Jupiter and Pisces, like very lucky energy. Jupiter's already lucky, but Jupiter and Pisces a little bit more like spiritually karmic lucky, while Jupiter and Sagittarius is like a little bit more like that fire lucky, which is like casinos maybe, or gambling, like a bang. Jupiter and Pisces like a bigger circular karmic luck and wholeness that Jupiter brings. But again, with all this change with the mutable energy coming in, I would say this Taurus work we're doing in the beginning of May is really important, because this is what's going to ground ourselves. And you'll see videos talking about the Taurus energy, but most importantly, rest and reward yourself, be easy, but also keep the ball moving. You want to keep the ball rolling. You want to keep pushing, and little by little, you want to grow, and that's what Tauruses are, right? Growing plants and trees and flowers and such. So it's gonna be, I wouldn't say bumpy. It's more like a swirly, because more spirally, because it's Gemini and Pisces. But in the end of the month, but before that, we're gonna solidify a lot of the values. And I think, again, like I said before, with all this healing, there's still more to come in the future. These are some of like the Uranus conjunction and the eclipse and the retrogrades. These are some of like tipping points in our freedom between destiny and our freedom and our choices, where we can, depending on the healing, depending on the changes that we've done, we're going to start moving forward. And to move forward with all this murky, swirly, hazy energy, vortex-like energy, we need to know what we want, right? Who we are, Aries, which is what we already worked on and healed with. And then Taurus, right now, we're working on, well, what do I want out of all this? What do I want out of being me? What can I make? What can I produce? What can I give? What can I grow? Like, these are all the questions we need first to solidify before we can move into some of the futuristic changes through Aquarius and Gemini, right? So to just go over the beginning of the month, I would say a lot of it is between the Taurus and Aquarius energy, between the squares happening between these two energies. That's going to be mostly difficult. And then some more, breakthrough in the end of it with some connection to Pluto, and then Jupiter move into Pisces, and then also everything, Sun and everything else already moved into Gemini. The Gemini Pisces, the second part of the month, right? This is going to be a little bit more of a kind of a, I don't want to say a roller coaster, but it's like a ride, right? Because Gemini and Pisces are kind of very quick compared to the Aquarius Taurus energy. Ground yourself and keep yourself steady in the beginning of the month, and then now that you're with your seatbelt, with the things that you need, now that you're comfortable and ready to go, Gemini and Pisces, end of the month, you're going to be able to kind of explore and move forward and communicate and get more ideas and maybe make more changes, right? So that's what this month is going to be about. Thanks guys for listening to this May monthly astrology video. Feel free to contact me. Don't forget to follow on YouTube, on my Instagram, and please like and share. Thanks guys.